What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune in and you check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to comment on a recent episode of The Odd Couple, right? And they were discussing the how LeBron James never recovered from that first black eye he took. And the first black eye they referring to is when LeBron James made the decision. He had that press conference. I guess they call it a press conference where he announced that he was leaving Cleveland and he was going to Miami, right? And so they said from there on, LeBron James never recovered. And I said this in videos before in the past too, which I agree with that. But I also said that I didn't think that that had to be the nail in his coffin. I didn't think that that was. Um, they just should have went into after he made that decision. Him and his team, his publicists, and they should have went into like repair mode immediately, right? Because you want to repair your image because that is, that's your fan base, and you don't want to be in poor standing when it comes to your fan base. And so LeBron James from then on never and he didn't recover, and it didn't have to be like that, right? So they discussed this topic on the Odd Couple, and what I want to do is I want to play the audio from the Odd Couple. Then I want to come back and I want to give some input, some more input on what I think about LeBron James and the decision and how he could have recovered and why he didn't recover.
Here we go. 16 years ago,
16
something
years.
happened. Ian, what happened?
16 years ago was the original The Decision from LeBron James, the ESPN special.
Ian, you were only 3 or 4 or something.
I
right?
do not remember it at
That's
all.
funny. That is
Yeah.
crazy. Don't tell us that how young you are. That's crazy.
No, I mean I still lived in New York at the time, and I remember it was like a huge consolation prize that they ended up getting Carmelo, but it didn't feel like it at the time, because he was coming home and all that. But
Right.
that's what I remember from that time was the Knicks getting Carmelo Anthony. That's how young I was.
What do you get out of that?
It's crazy.
Was it a good decision or a bad decision to do
Yeah.
it the way it is? Because he got backlash for
He
it.
got a lot of back. I
and
mean, that was
people
the
have made
first
fun
black
of it,
eye.
You know?
That was the thing for probably a decade. Like if you didn't like LeBron, that was the thing. And I think it's less the decision, the way it kind of played out, more so where he ended up going. Meaning if he literally had the same thing, Jim Gray, $2 million to, I think it was the Boys and Girls Club, all that, but he goes back to Cleveland, I don't think it's a big deal. I think the decision was a big deal because of the decision that was made more so than the theater of it all. But I think, I mean, looking back at it, I mean, if
So let me comment on that's a good point, right? So if LeBron James had that the same setup, and he said, instead of him saying, well, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach, or if LeBron James had said, I've decided to stay here home at Cleveland, right, and continue to build, that would have been big. It would have played out a lot different. He did donate money to the Boys and Girls Club. That would have looked, that looked good. But the fact that he would have stayed home, then people wouldn't have been able to say, well, now you cherry picking and you're trying to you just want to play with Dwayne Wade so you can win a ring. And Mike never did that. Magic and Bird, they never did it. All of that discussion just goes out the window. But I mean, now that's water under the bridge, hindsight and all that stuff. But that's a good point.
you would have told me 24 years, that would be like the big scandal of his career. It's kind of like, the tan
It's
suit.
not a scandal. It's just
Not scandal, but I mean, that would be the thing that made people irate for such a long time. I guess you'd say that was a compliment to him, meaning there wasn't a bunch of wild stuff, if you will, but that was the thing for years that a lot of people, the decision really kind of turned. That's when it turned for him. Up until that point, he was a young star. Most people either indifferent or you loved him. And then it was the league finally kind of said, all right, it's his league for a handful of years. And then the decision came, and that was when it turned. You remember the following season, he puts on the black hat and tried to be the bad guy when he was with Miami that first year. And that's just, that's not LeBron. So it just seemed odd and awkward and out of place. It wasn't him. But now.
All right. And so I want to comment on that as far as LeBron James accepting that villain role. That's, again, where his people messed him up. Like, and I always say this, like, that villain role, has a short shelf life. You can play the villain for a little while, but in the long run, like in our culture and in this country, they want to root for the underdog. They want to root for the good guy. They want the good guy to win. So you can't constantly, in my opinion, you can't constantly play the villain and expect like people are going to get behind you and endorse that. Like you want a hometown hero. That's you want to be the hometown hero. Nobody says, I'm the hometown villain, that it don't work like that, right? So this just points out so many different ways that his media team just failed him because, all right, everybody make mistakes. All right, so you made this mistake and you went to Miami. They should have, learned from that and be like, okay, we can't allow him to make this mistake again. We gotta be very conscious of his image. And so I would have kept LeBron James in Miami after he did that. I would have stayed in Miami for the rest of my career with Pat Riley and just allow Pat Riley, a great coach, a great general manager, allow him to put the people around me that was going to make me successful. That would have been a big mistake, but he could have rebounded from that had they handled that situation differently. Like if he was the kind of player that could, that could have allowed Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra to coach him and to put, the right pieces around him, LeBron James probably would have about, he could probably have 6 rings. I would give him 6 rings, right? And then, like the people in Miami, he will own Miami. He will own Miami. But the way he went about it, once he left, and then rumors come out that, how much of a diva he was when he was down there, all that just add to the, to the negative image that some people had about him, so he just continuously once that happened, he just continuously gave the public more ammunition to hold against him. Everybody know what Kobe Bryant went through, with that situation that happened to him, and he got involved. I don't want to say happened to him, but the situation he got involved with in what was that, in Colorado. Now, whether he was guilty or not guilty, he still made a effort to. He came back and he repaired his image. The Black Mamba. He dedicated himself to basketball, and Kobe Bryant fans, man, just love him because of like he just reinvented himself. All basketball, all a lot of entertainers and basketball players make mistakes, but you got to know how to rebound from it, man. And this is where, like I said, his team just failed him.
It's funny, Evante, I swear, every big recruit has a decision. Yo, what's up? Iced out. I got 3 hats. I mean,
it's just phony now. Like it was done.
I'm gonna go to this and then pick up the hat site. Nah, I'm gonna go to this one.
I just saw one where a kid, it was about picking what college they're going to. So it was all these Ivy League schools, right? Mm-hmm. So he had the hoodie or the sweatshirt from all the schools. And then, of course, after he went through the 5 Ivy League schools that he always talked about, Columbia and Harvard and Yale and whatever, then he goes back into his bag and picks out Vanderbilt. Like I'm like,
yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it's theater now. Everything is theater now, Rob. You got to put on.
You ain't got to do all that. Come on,
even
man.
Even for revealing your kid's gender, we're doing too much.
No, they getting carried. People lifting weights, like they dropping the
You just can't
dumbbells
say we're having a
bench.
boy. We're having a boy. You want to buy, if you're not sure, buy green stuff.
But yeah,
how's that?
Yeah, yellow, green,
tan.
Yeah,
the girl wear tan or no?
But what's wrong with gender? We did a gender reveal.
Green. Yeah, was it phony or fake?
Yeah, we didn't do all crazy. We just did the little. Popped a little, twisted, and it pops. We didn't go crazy.
That,
People got people trying to dunk. You see the one where man couldn't make the dunk,
wild.
So he had to keep trying. Like,
I just thought it was set the tone for LeBron. Being it about him and being over the top with that. That's all. It just came off as that wasn't necessary.
He does that.
I just think that if LeBron James had chose to stay in Cleveland, that would have been good. It would have been a good look. because at that time, people wasn't really tired of seeing kids do the reveal, like what school. Remember, this was in 2010, right? I think around 2010. Right, yeah, 2010 when he made that decision. So it hadn't played out by then. And I think LeBron James, like I said, had gave money to charity, the Boys and Girls Club. So it wouldn't have went down too bad. It would have came off, he'd have looked like the hometown hero, and so I don't know. If he was going to leave and that was a mistake, you should have had a way to rebuild your image.
Okay.
Play, music. I don't want to call it, like back in the DeLorean. We can and go back in time. I do all this. I'm going back. I'm taking my talents back home to Cleveland. Is it even a thing anymore? You know what I mean? Was it the result of the decision?
No, it's not. It wasn't the result. Because
I think it was the result.
Nobody had really done that. It just didn't. I'm taking my talents to South. Like it just was so. Like I wanted to throw up in my mouth, Alex, that night. And this.
No, I think it was the result. Had LeBron James said, "Man, I'm staying in Cleveland. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna see what we can build here and what we can accomplish here as a team and as a unit." I think that would have went into making him a big, even more of a more beloved, not just by people in Cleveland, because he was everything in Cleveland already, right? People would be like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." People appreciate and when you demonstrate a loyalty like that and commitment and just, I'm gonna play hard, man. And whatever happens, happen. He could have owned Cleveland had he stayed there, man. So, but he left. And his team did not help him rebuild and recover from that. And so, yeah, he never did, in my opinion, recover from the black eye he received from leaving there. But that's my take on it. Make sure to like, subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And I'm going to check y'all out in the next video. Peace.